There's a sneaky little chord that comes up in many songs. And if you're a guitarist who wants to play all your favorite songs, then you might want to know about it. It's called a sus chord. In this video, I'm going to reveal insider tips on what every guitarist needs to know about sus chords and how you can start playing them like a pro today. So let's begin with, what are sus chords? Well, many times over the years, I've talked to guitar players and musicians, and they'll say, what is that D sus? Is that D sustained? And it's a good guess, but sus actually stands for suspended. And it's a type of chord that has this sort of floaty, unresolved feeling to it. These can add a lot of tension to songs, and it just sounds kind of unresolved. Now, they can be applied to major or minor chords. For example, you could have a D7 chord, and then you could go D7 sus. Or you could have a D minor 7 chord, and you could go D minor 7 sus. So they have a different type of feeling to them based on how they are applied to either a major or a minor chord. Now there's two core types of sus chords. There's a sus2 and a sus4. Often when guitarists say a chord like, hey, can you play D sus? They actually mean D sus4. So they get a little lazy sometimes and leave off that extra determinant of whether it's a 4 or a 2, and we're going to talk about what makes these different in this video, but generally a sus means sus4. So if you want to know how to build these chords, then we got to back up and we got to just look at the basic major chord first. So if we're in the key of D, and we have the D major scale, that's going to be the notes D, E, F sharp, G, A, B, C sharp, and then D, that's your octave again. So we have those notes. Now if we take the first note of the scale, the third note of the scale, and the fifth note of the scale, and we put those together, we get a D major chord. Those notes are D, F sharp, and A. So if you play a D chord, any D that you know on the fretboard, doesn't matter where it is, if it's a D chord, it's going to use the notes D, F sharp, and A. And they might not necessarily be in that straight order, like D, F sharp, A. Like here I'm playing A, D, F sharp, and I could add this D note in there. So there might be some doubled notes as well, but that's going to form the basic major chord. Now in a sus chord, typically on guitar, you'll replace the third note of the scale with the fourth note of the scale. Now it doesn't mean that that note is gone, it's still in the scale, and in fact, according to theory, you could still have the third in there, but it just works out this way on guitar. So for our purposes here, you'll see that real clear. So for example, if I take the D, F sharp, and the A, the root, third, fifth, and now I replace that third note with the next note of the scale, which is D, E, F sharp, G. So I'm now going to play the notes D, G, and A. Then I'll get a D sus, and it's a 4 because I'm replacing that third with the fourth scale degree. So back to this chord here, we've got a D. Now this note is F sharp, that's the third. We're just going to move it up, it goes up 1 fret. So I just added my pinky there, and now I've got this D sus 4. So that's a simple way of playing it. And it's important to note that in most songs, in popular music, you'll have a sus chord like this, and then it often resolves. A great example of that is Tom Petty's Free Fallin'. It starts like this. So it uses a capo higher up, but that's the basic progression. So you have like an E to an E sus 4. I just move that one note. See that note move 1 fret, just like in the D. Same formula, different chord, and then it resolves. But again, these sus chords, it just has this beautiful floating sound to it. If you've struggled to figure out all the notes and chords in your favorite songs by ear, then go to johnmcclennan.com/goldenear and get your hands on my free ear training cheat sheet. Ear training is how you can start hearing these nuances and identifying chords by ear. And I want to give you my guide on this. Just go to johnmcclennan.com/goldenear and grab my free ear training cheat sheet. So that's the first of those two chords. So we've got the sus4 chord, right, which takes that third and replaces it with the fourth. Okay, so that's a sus4. Now let's look at another example here, the sus2. So what this is going to do is replace the third. Instead of going up to the fourth, we're going to replace it with the 2. So for example, D, back to our D major scale, D, E, F sharp, G, A, B, C sharp, D. The 2 is just the next letter name up, D, E. It's a whole step up from the root. So D, E, that's going to be our root, then the second, and then we'll have the fifth. So we have the notes D, E, A. Well, check this out here. D, E, A. That is a D sus2 chord. So you can have all these right off the chord. You got the D, sus4, D natural, D sus2, just by lifting up and adding that open E, which is the second scale degree. You'll notice this has a real just kind of open sound to it. It's kind of airy. And you'll hear this in tunes like, right, Here Comes the Sun. Now check this out right here. That's a sus4. So it's using, in Here Comes the Sun, you've got sus2 chords, you've got sus4 chords, and they can be applied like, here, this is an A7 sus4. So you can apply it to all kinds of chords, changing that basic structure of the triad, and you can get some really sophisticated sounds. So have a listen to those songs again. Sus4, sus2. Another great example where you can hear this is one of my favorite guitar players, rock guitar players, named Andy Summers from The Police. And he would use this all the time, but in a slightly different way. So let's say we're in the key of A, and we have the A major scale. We would have the ninth, or the second, can also be seen as the ninth. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 and 2 are the same. Okay, so it depends on how you look at it. But here, if I take just the A note and then a perfect fifth up from there, E, and then I add this note, B, which could be seen as like the sus2 or add 9, then I get this shape. And you could hear that in like Every Breath You Take. Or another example of this is the guitar part to Message in a Bottle. The whole thing is based on that sus2 or add 9 sound. So by understanding how to build these chords and play them on your guitar, and then also train your ear to recognize those sounds, then you're going to be in a great place. If you want my help with this, then go to johnmcclennan.com/goldenear and get your hands on my free ear training cheat sheet. And this is going to help you start developing these skills, so when you hear these sounds in your favorite songs, they just jump out at you in vivid detail. So it's completely for free. Just go to johnmcclennan.com/goldenear and grab that now as my gift to you. As always, hope you enjoyed this video, and if you like this one, you might like this one next.